Buddha or Karl Marx by Ambedkar. 8. Withering away of the state. The communists themselves admit that their theory of the state as a permanent dictatorship is a weakness in their political philosophy. They take shelter under the plea that the state will ultimately wither away. There are two questions which they have no answer. When will it wither away? What will take the place of the state when it withers away? To the first question, they can give no definite time. Dictatorship for a short period may be good and a welcome thing even for making democracy safe. Why should not dictatorship liquidate itself after it has done its work, after it has removed all the obstacles and boulders in the way of democracy and has made the path of democracy safe? Did not Ashoka set an example? He practiced violence against the Kalingas, but thereafter he renounced violence completely. If our victors did today not only disarm their victims but also disarm themselves, there would be peace all around the world. The communists have given no answer. At any rate, no satisfactory answer to the question what would take the place of the state when it withers away, though this question is more important than the question when the state will wither away. Will it be succeeded by anarchy? If so, the building up of the communist state is a useless effort. If it cannot be sustained except by force, and if it results in anarchy, then this force holding it together is withdraws, what good is the communist state? The only thing which could sustain it after force is withdrawn is religion. But to the communists, religion is anathema. Their hatred to religion is so deep-seated that they will not even discriminate between religions which are helpful to communism and religions which are not. The communists have carried their hatred of Christianity to Buddhism without waiting to examine the difference between the two. The charge against Christianity leveled by the communists was twofold. Their first charge against Christianity was that they made people otherworldliness and made them suffer poverty in this world. As can be seen from quotations from Buddhism in the earlier part of this tract, such a charge cannot be leveled against Buddhism. The second charge leveled by the communists against Christianity cannot be leveled against Buddhism. This charge is summed up in the statement that the religion is the opium of the people. This charge is based on the Sermon on the Mount which is to be found in the Bible. The Sermon on the Mount sublimates poverty and weakness. It promises heaven to the poor and the weak. There is no Sermon on the Mount to be found in Buddha's teaching. His teaching is to acquire wealth. I give below his sermon on the subject to Anathapindika, one of his disciples. Once Anathapindika came to where the Exalted One was saying. Having come, he made obeisance to the Exalted One and took a seat at one side and asked, Will the enlightened world tell what things are welcome, pleasant, agreeable to the householder, but which are hard to gain? The enlightened one, having heard the question put to him, said, Of the things, the first is to acquire wealth lawfully. The second is to see that your relations also get their wealth lawfully. The third is to live long and reach great age. Of a truth, householder, for the attainment of these four things which are in the world are welcomed, pleasant, agreeable, but hard to gain, there are also four conditions precedent. They are the blessing of faith, the blessing of virtuous conduct, the blessing of liberality, and the blessing of wisdom. The blessing of virtuous conduct, which abstains from taking life, thieving, unchastely, lying, and partaking of fermented liquor. The blessing of liberality consists in the householder living with mind freed from the taint of avarice, generous, open-handed, delighting in gifts, the good one to be asked, and devoted to the distribution of gifts. Wherein consists the blessing of wisdom? He knows that an householder who dwells with mind overcome by greed, avarice, ill will, sloth, drowsiness, destruction, and flurry, and also about commits wrongful deeds and neglects that which ought to be done, and by so doing deprived of happiness and honor. Greed, avarice, ill will, sloth, and drowsiness, destruction, and flurry, and doubt are stains on the mind. A householder who gets rid of such stains of the mind acquires great wisdom, abundant wisdom, clear vision, and perfect wisdom. Thus, to acquire wealth legitimately and justly, earned by great industry, amassed by strength of the arm, and gained by sweat of the brow, is a great blessing. The householder makes himself happy and cheerful, and preserves himself full of happiness, also makes his parents, wife and children, servants and laborers, friends and companions happy and cheerful, and preserves them full of happiness. The Russians do not seem to be paying any attention to Buddhism as an ultimate aid to sustain communism when force is withdrawn. The Russians are proud of their communism, but they forget that the wonder of all wonders is that the Buddha established communism so far as the sun was concerned without dictatorship. It may be that it was a communism on a very small scale, but it was communism without dictatorship, a miracle which Lenin failed to do. The Buddha's method was different. His method was to change the mind of man, to alter his disposition so that whatever man does, he does it voluntarily without the use of force or compulsion. His main means to alter the disposition of men was his Dhamma and the constant preaching of his Dhamma. The Buddha's way was not to force people to do what they did not like to do, although it was good for them. His way was to alter the disposition of men so that they would do voluntarily what they would otherwise not do. It has been claimed that the communist dictatorship in Russia has wonderful achievements to its credit. There can be no denial of it. That is why I say that a Russian dictatorship would be good for all backward countries. But this is no argument for permanent dictatorship. Humanity does not only want economic values, it also wants spiritual values to be retained. Permanent dictatorship has paid no attention to spiritual values and does not seem to be interested in doing this. Carlyle called political economy a big philosophy. Carlyle was, of course, wrong, for man needs material comforts, but the communist philosophy seems to be equally wrong, for the aim of their philosophy seems to be fatten pigs, as though men are no better than pigs. Man must grow materially as well as spiritually. Society has been aiming to lay a new foundation was summarized by the French Revolution in 3 words: fraternity, liberty, and equality. The French Revolution was welcomed because of this slogan. It failed to produce equality. We welcome the Russian Revolution because it aims to produce equality. But it cannot be too much emphasized that in producing equality, society cannot afford to sacrifice fraternity or liberty. Equality will be of no value without fraternity or liberty. It seems that the three can coexist only if one follows the way of the Buddha. Communism can give one, but not all. The end.